Goku would begin his journey with Bulma, Johnny, aka the Human Torch, and Ben Grimm, aka the Thing. As we stated in the last episode, the reason why Reed and Susan weren't attending with Goku's first adventure was because they had just recently had the birth of their second child, that being Franklin Richards. And as they were getting a little older in age, Reed decided to step back from the hero life. He had been doing it ever since the beginning of the story, when Goku first met with the Fantastic Four, along with his wife Susan. As such, they decided to take a step back in helping to raise the second child, on top of Goku, their first one whom they adopted, and with Reed wanting to focus more on the scientific side of his work, as even though he did love being a hero, he viewed himself as more of a scientist to a hero in the first place. Now with Goku taking up the mantle of one of the Fantastic Four, and with Bulma Briefs joining along for the ride, you could say that this was a pseudo Fantastic Four team, unlike any that the world had ever seen before. Bulma, who was a close friend to the Richard family, as they lived in West City along with the Briefs, with Reed and Bulma's father respectively being colleagues, both men in the realm of science and having innovations in their own right. Bulma had made the Dragon Radar, and it was through circumstance that she had come into contact with Goku, who had been given the 4-star ball from Grandpa Gohan, who died on his deathbed naturally. Now, because of this team being put together, it means that a few things in this story would change from the original timeline. For one thing, unlike in the original story, where Goku and Bulma had to travel using basic vehicles and traveling by foot, they would have access to the many technological advances that the team of the Fantastic Four had, such as the Team Jet, flown by Johnny. In doing so, on top of Bulma already having the Dragon Radar, it meant that the team was able to move from location to location a lot faster. As such, it wouldn't take them nearly as long to get to the Dragon Balls, and it would lead to their first encounter, as they made their way to a place known as the Kame Island that was home to Master Roshi. Now, Goku was familiar with the name Roshi, as he had heard it many times from Grandpa Gohan. It was someone who was Gohan's former student. As such, for Roshi, it would be the first time that he would learn of his master's timely demise. Although he did die of natural causes, so he was glad to know that Gohan went out in peace, and to see that he had taken up another student in Goku. Now, it doesn't mean that things change as far as Master Roshi having his rather perverse nature. However, it would be a lot more quelled given whom he would be in the company of. For one, Ben and Johnny, although they had their own personalities, wouldn't take too kindly to the old man's perversions, especially towards Bulma. Sure, Johnny was a ladies' man, but he had standards, and he wasn't going to tolerate indecency from some old man, no matter what sort of master he claimed to be. Now, as far as what the Fantastic Four can do, outside of Goku, who still retained the same basic abilities as he had in the original story, each member of the Fantastic Four, for the training that they did take from Gohan, expanded their power sets in a different way. As far as the concept of ki or what it was, they all had it in a various degree and form. Let's start with Reed Richards. For Reed, when he did his own form of training, meditation, working out, things of that nature, it expanded his mind. It allowed him to grasp concepts a lot faster and have an even greater depth and understanding. You could honestly say that the more Reed trained, it didn't just affect his powers and his body, but it also affected his mind more than anything else, making him even more sharper, wiser, faster, in his understanding and knowledge. While Reed was definitely powerful as a hero, his power came even more so from his intellect. Then there was Susan, who learned to master her power of invisibility and of barrier constructs. The stronger she became, the stronger her barriers became as well. The more improved her invisibility was. She had even grown strong enough to the point where she could make other people or objects completely invisible as well. And she only grew with strength and with age. For Ben and for Johnny, respectively, their training was more so in the physical than the mental department. You could say that for Johnny, the stronger his ki was, or power level, as you'll know for now, the stronger his flames were. And Johnny had flames in spades. As for Ben, he was more so the powerhouse of the team. He trained for that brute strength and for the power to really pack a punch. When it came to raw power, he definitely had everyone beat in that department, in terms of physical energy. As for Goku, his training mainly consisted of the same, although out of all the members of the Fantastic Four, he really got into the martial arts aspects. Johnny was more of a long-range fighter, fighting from a distance with his flames. Susan was more of a defensive fighter. Reed, using his elasticity and stretching abilities, he was okay in hand-to-hand combat, although he was the type of man who preferred to use his intellect to get out of a situation. And for Ben, he had experience as a boxer, but he was more of a brawler than anything else. Goku was the one who took up the real fighting form of martial arts, and as such, it was why he had the closest relationship with Gohan when it came to that sort of training. It's also why, out of respect for Gohan, Goku's uniform for the Fantastic Four was a gi in honor of his training to Gohan, but still retaining the colors and the familiarity of the Fantastic Four. With all of that being said, Goku would show off his martial arts prowess to Master Roshi, who would be far more impressed with Goku than in the original story. The reason being is that Goku in this scenario, being raised by Reed and Susan Richards, is a lot more calculated, a lot more smart. He has a lot more wisdom than the original Goku did. He's not a naive child who doesn't understand the ins and outs of the world. No, far from it. He's far more polite, respectful. He's truly been raised to be an honorable and upstanding boy. And as such, it's very impressive to the likes of Roshi, who not only gives them the Dragon Ball, as well as giving Goku the Flying Nimbus, that Goku would still be pure of heart and would be able to ride. So no, there's no chicanery with the likes of Roshi getting a peek at Bulma's undergarments, because the situation would be far too different. He would be way more impressed with the likes of Goku, and when their adventure was over, he offered for him to come back, because he would like to train him. Moving on to the next part of their journey, the team would still encounter the likes of Oolong, the shapeshifter, who would be far less intimidating to this group in particular. The Fantastic Four were known worldwide, so as such, it wasn't the type of team you wanted to get involved with. So when Oolong realized what he was up against, he was quickly put into his place, although not remiss in having a brave bravado. But in the end of the day, he wasn't anything that they couldn't overcome. For the most part, the journey would be a lot more streamlined, with the team being able to move quickly from location to location. As such, they ended up flying over the desert, so they don't run into Yamcha, the Desert Bandit, or Puar. Now, on the surface, you might be thinking that, oh, it's a shame that they weren't able to meet Yamcha this time around. But it doesn't mean that he won't be here sooner or later. It's just that now isn't the time for them to meet. And, given the circumstances, it just wouldn't make sense for them to meet in this scenario. Because after all, they would be flying so fast overhead, Yamcha would just view it as nothing more but a plane flying off in the distance, not like he'd be capable of robbing them anyway, even if he tried. Because of that, they would move on to their next destination, as they would move to a place known as Fire Mountain. There, the team would come face to face with the Ox King, who had the issue of his mountain constantly being on fire. Now, originally, he was going to send his daughter Chi-Chi to go retrieve the Bancho fan from Master Roshi. However, they wouldn't need to do so. Why? Because the Human Torch was here. And this would be just another display of Johnny's mastery over flame. The Human Torch would fly directly onto the Fire Mountain, and after taking a deep breath and focusing, he would draw all the flames towards him. They would watch in awe as the flames would just dissipate all of a sudden, as Johnny would absorb all of that fire. In an instant, it seemed like the flaming mountain that was once raging and impossible to stop was no longer here. This truly showed how much Johnny had grown in his mastery over the flames, to the point where he could dispel a great large number of them without any need or worry. Now, Chi-Chi would still develop her crush on Goku. However, unlike before, this time Goku would be very aware of how Chi-Chi felt towards him, and while he appreciated it, he just didn't feel the same. In the end, I'm not going to go with the Goku-Chi-Chi relationship in this story, primarily because I've never really liked the way that it was founded or based on. Not that they wouldn't be good together, or not that they wouldn't even be even better under this scenario, but simply put that Goku never really showed much of an interest for her in a romantic way to start with. Besides, Goku maybe had feelings for someone else, but we'll put a pin in that. After continuing along in their journey, they would still run into the likes of the Rabbit Mob, led by the master criminal known as Carrot, the Rabbit Man, who had the ability to turn anyone into carrots with a touch. Now, compared to many of the villains that the Fantastic Four had had to deal with over their years, this was definitely nothing, and as such, it wasn't anything that they couldn't really overcome or anything that they couldn't really stop. And after dealing with the trickery of the Rabbit Mob and with one of their members, Ben of all people, getting turned into a carrot, Goku was quickly able to dispatch of the rabbit-like villain and was able to turn his friend back to normal. The journey for the group would continue once more, as eventually they would find themselves in the crosshairs of Emperor Pilaf and the Pilaf gang. Now, Emperor Pilaf would still have his sights set on getting the Dragon Balls, along with his assistants Shu and Mai, in hopings of gaining world domination. However, that simply wouldn't come to be. For one, he would have to go up against a much more stronger and calculated Goku, but on top of that, he would have to deal with the likes of the might of the Fantastic Four. Even if they had their two newest members at the moment, the power of the Thing, along with the might of the Human Torch, was more so than anything Emperor Pilaf could overcome. As such, it would actually be the group themselves who would end up getting all of the Dragon Balls. However, Pilaf wasn't one to give up so easily. When the group had their guard down, he would end up kidnapping Bulma, taking her away to his castle and holding her hostage. This was going to be a ransom. They were going to hold Bulma unless the team gave up the Dragon Balls. Goku would be enraged by this. Someone that he knew as a close friend, someone he had grown up with, and someone that he truly cared about was in danger by a low-life criminal no less. Goku wanted to charge right in, but Emperor Pilaf was ready for this. He used his vast resources to get a large army of giant robots, all of whom were very powerful. Even though Goku was strong in his own right, These robots were seemingly too much to overcome, and Pilaf had a good number of them. If they weren't going to hand over the Dragon Balls, then he was simply going to crush them by force. The Emperor would smile in his throne room as his assistants watched as the small blue man laughed maniacally, watching the forces known of the Fantastic Four attempting to invade, and with his robotic army seemingly on the upper hand. It serves the little brat right for thinking that he could ever try to outdo the mighty Emperor Pilaf. Now, I'm going to be the one to do something that even the famed Dr. Doom wasn't able to do. I'm going to crush the Fantastic Four, and soon the Dragon Balls will be mine, and thus the world. Goku, the Thing, and the Human Torch would battle their way through the forces of Emperor Pilaf. While the Thing was destroying as many of the robots as he could, smashing them at the legs and causing them to fall, and Johnny flying through the air trying to blast them all away, although he would end up being swatted like a fly in the sky itself, Goku would use the Nimbus, trying to fly through the joints of the various machines, looking to take them down. As nightfall started to come, Bulma could hear the crashing and the fighting in the distance. She could tell that it was Goku and the others. They had come to save her. However, even they found themselves being overwhelmed, and before long, it looked like it might be the end. As Goku, who had been flying on the Nimbus, had gotten jumped by 5 of the giant robots, who all collectively slammed him into the ground itself. Ben, who was being dogpiled by the robots, and Johnny, who was still trying to get to his comrades but still dealing with his own horde. Goku, battered and beaten, looked up to the night sky itself. The clouds started to dissipate, and through it a light would shine. The light of the full moon. Herbie the robot, who had been looking through the tower for Bulma and would eventually find her, would use his quick tools to open her cell door, although Herbie's alerts would be going off. "Oh no, this isn't good, not at all." "What, Herbie? What's wrong?" Bulma would ask. "Tonight's the night of the full moon. Young Master, he can't be outside right now. It's dangerous." "Dangerous? What's going to happen?" "When the full moon shines, young Richards, Goku, he transforms into an otherworldly beast, one that can't be contained." "What? Then we've got to hurry." They would quickly rush outside to see what had happened. As they looked, they could hear a scream. Emperor Pilaf watched from the top of his castle. He believed that Goku had been crushed, but quite the contrary. The young boy started to grow, his body beginning to change in size and shape, his clothes beginning to rip and tear as he started to reach massive sizes. His tail began to sway back and forth. The young boy's features became that of fur as he grew larger and larger into the size of a giant great ape. The great ape would roar and scream, shooting out mouth blasts and destroying the robots that held it down. Emperor Pilaf became fearful as the young boy would now go on a rampage. Both Ben and Johnny could see what was happening. Goku was going on a rampage once again, just like he did when he was 6 years old. They wished Reed was here at the moment. Maybe he could have thought of something. What were they going to do? Goku laid waste to the giant robots. He laid waste to all of the Emperor's forces. Pilaf was now looking to book a retreat as Goku set his sights on him. The beast snarled, It yelled, it beat its chest as it looked to the sky of the full moon. Through its gargled voice, it sounded like it was trying to make words. Boo! Boo! Bulma! Bulma! Was it yelling out Bulma's name? That's who he was looking for. Even in this transformed state, Goku's mind was still on trying to find Bulma. Bulma knew what it meant, and jumping on Herbie flew high into the sky itself, as Bulma would try to get into Goku's line of sight. Goku! Goku, I'm okay! It's okay, Goku, really! The Emperor, seeing his chance, would go into his flying helicopter. Using the missile launcher, he attempted to fire the entire payload at Goku, one of the missiles aiming directly towards Bulma and Herbie, knocking them off course and seemingly knocking them out of the sky. Goku would reach his hands down as Bulma and Herbie fell into the giant palms of the ape. Goku looked back at the flying helicopter furiously. Opening his mouth, he fired off a beam that went directly towards the helicopter that flew off in the distance, causing them to crash. Goku was ready to go and stomp them out. In just a few short steps, he could crush them. It could be over with. But he felt something else. Bulma holding onto his hand, looking up to him tearfully. It's okay, Goku. Please, calm down. It'll be all right, I promise. Boom. Oh. It's me, Bulma. It's all right, Goku. I'm safe. We're all okay. You don't have to fight anymore. Goku would try to hold himself back. Off in the distance, the sun was starting to rise. As the moon faded off, so too did Goku's massive form. He started to shrink, eventually losing consciousness as he fell into Bulma's arms. Thankfully, the worst had been avoided. There was no loss of life, and the Emperor's schemes had been foiled. But now they were left with a conundrum. They now had the Dragon Balls. Well, it was time to see if the myths were true. Bulma would gather all 7 of the Dragon Balls together as she took a deep breath. Come forth, Shenron. Grant my wish. Please. The morning sky would begin to grow dark. Thunder and lightning would roar across the sky. From out of the Dragon Balls that glowed, a large green dragon who seemed to spiral all across the air itself as the head of the dragon, with its crimson red eyes, looked down upon them. You have summoned me forth. State your wish, and if it is within my power, it shall be granted you. Everyone looked on in disbelief. The great dragon was real. But what were they going to ask for? What could they ask for? They hadn't really thought about it. Bulma, did she really want what she thought she wanted? Perhaps what she had been looking for was here the whole time. But she wouldn't say that aloud. But still, the more she thought about it, the more petty it seemed to ask for something like that. But at the same time, they could ask for seemingly anything. That's when Goku looked up to Ben. Do you want to be normal? Not that I don't think you're normal. You're always been normal to me, but I know it's not easy for you. I know that sometimes you wish you could look the way you used to. Right, Uncle? Maybe this is your chance. I didn't. I mean, it's not like I don't mind being the way I am now, but come on, big guy. If anyone deserves to have a happy ending, it's definitely you. Well, I mean, what about Goku? I mean, he still has that thing going on about him. I mean, don't you want to know who you are? Huh? But you'll never get... Wait a second. Goku looked up to Shenron. Hey, Mr. Shenron? What is it? If I ask a question, will that count as a wish? No. You may ask a question, but hurry. You are wasting my time. Right. If we make a wish, will you be gone forever? When your wish is made, the Dragon Balls will become inactive for 1 Earth year. It will take time for them to recharge, but in 1 year's time, they will reignite and can be used again. That now confirmed another wonder. Even if they made a wish now, they could still use the Dragon Balls again. Everyone looked to one another. Ben looked on to Goku. Go on, kid. Learn who you truly are. We'll get another shot. Thank you. Goku was a little nervous. He had always known that he wasn't like everyone else. Reed didn't try to hide that from him. Of course, it never changed anything. He was still him and Sue's son. He was still family to Ben and Johnny. That would never change, no matter what. But they had always wondered, what was Goku? Who was he? Where did he come from? And now it was his chance to find out. Oh, Shenron, this is my wish. Tell me, who am I? And where did I come from? The dragon's eyes would glow. I hear your wish. This is the knowledge you seek, Goku Richards. Your name, originally Kakarot, the child of Gine and Bardock, of the Saiyan race, a race long since destroyed. You came from a doomed planet, a planet that no longer exists, Planet Vegeta. You are of the Saiyan race. You were sent to Earth to conquer and enslave. But you have chosen a different path. But this is your origin. This is who you are, Goku. Goku would be astounded by that answer, as the Dragon Balls all flew high into the sky, moving in a circle, before each one shot off in the distance, each one moving in a different direction, far and away. And just like that, it was done. Thankfully, Goku looked up in time and saw which one was the 4-star Dragon Ball Jumping up in the air before it could fly off, he nabbed it just in time, before flipping back to the ground. Although now what he held wasn't even a Dragon Ball, it was just a stone. I guess that's what it looks like when it's inactive. And it'll stay that way for a whole year, Ben would chime in. So that's what I am then, huh? So a Saiyan. That's what I am. I always knew there was something different about me. Something that was wrong. But I wasn't sent here for any reason. I was only sent here to destroy. Am I a... No, you're not. Bulma would immediately move over and pull Goku into the tightest hug he had ever been in. Don't you dare ever say that you're a monster. You're not. You're Goku. Goku Richards. It doesn't matter if you're a Saiyan or a human. You've been raised to be a fine boy. And I wouldn't have you any other way. The two held one another for what seemed like eternity. As their journey had come to an end, the group would travel back home to West City. Reed and Susan would be astounded at the news, and they would take some time. Time to be with Goku and time to be a family. It was times like this when you really needed family now more than ever. To remind you that no matter where you go, you always have a home. This was Goku's home. The home that he loved and the home that he cherished, and the home that he would always defend. That was never going to change for Goku. Some time would pass, around 2 months. Before then, Goku decided to take a break from the adventures and the traveling. But he still had his sights set on training with Master Roshi to see if he could take himself to the next level in his martial arts. After getting the okay from Reed and Susan, Goku would call out to the Flying Nimbus, along with Herbie, who was going to be coming along for the journey. So far, there hadn't been much crime in West City, no world-ending disasters. Johnny was off doing his own thing, and Ben was just doing what Ben always does. Goku was getting ready to set off when the doorbell would ring to the Baxter building. It was Bulma. She was going to see him off before he went on the next trip. So, you're going back to that crazy old man, huh? Yeah, he's a bit odd, definitely, but he was someone that was trained by Grandpa Gohan. I want to know what else I can learn. Maybe I can learn how to control this power that I have. You think you want to control it? Yeah. I mean, it's a part of me. I can't deny it. But I can't just shelve it off and pretend it doesn't exist. It's something I was born with. And no matter what it might have originally been intended for, if I can use this power to help my friends and the people I care about safe, then it's worth a try. Bulma would just smile at him. Well, if anyone can do it, I know you can, Goku. Give it your best, okay? The two would share a final hug, Goku giving out hugs as well to Reed, Susan, and little baby Franklin, hugging Ben Grimm, the Thing, and one for Johnny also. They all looked out and saw him off as Goku called the Flying Nimbus, jumping on the cloud and Herbie flying close behind. He waved down to his family as he flew off into the sky, as the next leg of his journey was set to begin. And he had a date with destiny, meaning with the Turtle Hermit Master. This concludes Dragon Ball Fantastic Tales. What if Goku joined the Fantastic Four? Season 1, Part 2. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Come back tomorrow morning as we'll continue Dragon Ball Fantastic Tales. What if Goku joined the Fantastic Four? Season 1, Part 3. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with Power Core Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.